My name is Zina Brown, and I own a company called Pop-Up Talent. And Pop-Up Talent is a company that provides virtual in-house recruiting services, like a fractional recruiting service, where you use a recruiter a fraction of the time. And let me mute my cell phone. I thought I had done that already. And mental health in the workplace is super important. And we thought that today is National PTSD Awareness Day. And we thought today would be a good day to host Dr. Tanya to share some of her insight and her perspective and ideas for healing. What better day than today? So hopefully, you'll walk away with some great little tips and tricks and share those with the people that you know, and it can have a positive impact on this day. So welcome, Dr. Tanya. Thank you so much for being here and allowing us to promote you and put some information out there about your work. I'd like to start with just reading. I know some people here know you, but there's some other people that haven't quite made it yet, and I'm sure they would like to know about you. So I'll just read some bio information. So Dr. Tanya English has dedicated over 35 years to the healing arts, beginning her journey as a massage therapist, evolving into a chiropractor and energy healer. Inspired by the belief that we are all born with an innate power to heal, Dr. English's mission is to empower individuals to tap into tremendous healing potential for their highest good. Using her intuitive soul healing method, Dr. English helps others unlock their healing power and educates them on how to apply these techniques for themselves and the benefits of others. She is a master of bioenergetic synchronization technique, BEST, or B-E-S-T, a method that addresses subconscious negative physiological patterns, allowing the body to heal more effectively. Additionally, as an energy healer, she can discern and remove energy blockages, facilitating individuals to achieve their fullest expression of life. She is also an accomplished blues singer. Maybe we'll get a sample of that today. Delivering healing with the blues with the Tanya English Band for the past 13 years. So maybe we can all have an autograph by the end of this. All right.
Yeah, we'll do some singing later.
Okay, well then I'll have to mute myself. That is not a good idea. If we're going to sing as a group, that's not a good idea.
No, we don't have to sing as a group. It doesn't work on Zoom.
Yeah, you'll have to convince me there's healing power in that because
definitely.
There you go. Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe I'll jump in. All right. So let's just get started. I'm so excited to hear from you. I consider you a friend. I've had some great tips from you on the business side of the house. And so I'm excited to just learn more about your practice and more about what you do. So tell us about yourself and your journey in the realm of healing arts. What is healing arts?
Well, everything that you do as a practice is actually an art form. So like, I just had a patient come in today and he said, the first doctor I went to didn't want to do blood work. So the next doctor I went to did blood work and found out that my white count was high and found kidney stones. So there was something going on.
Right.
But this is the art of diagnosis. It is not a science. You have to know something, you have to understand it, and then you have to be able to act on it. So just like anything that you practice, it's an art. There's science involved, there's art, and there's philosophy. That's chiropractic.
Okay. All right. Good information. So tell us about you and your journey to the realm of healing arts. How did you get from massage therapist to the soul chiropractor?
Well, it started actually in theater. So I was getting my Bachelor of Fine Arts in theater production. And after I graduated, a friend of mine said, you're such a good massager. She said, you should go to massage school too. And I said, okay, well, let me see what that's like. And it turned out that there was a massage school like 3 blocks from my apartment in Boston. And so I was like, well, this is a sign. So I'm big on following, leading from source energy, from God energy. So I said, well, let me check this out. So I took anatomy and physiology. Turned out my anatomy and physiology teacher was in an office 3 doors down the hall from where I was working at the time, because I had decided, let me try a regular job instead of theater work. I needed to like stop that for a little bit. Well, what happened was I went into massage therapy. I ended up hanging out in this chiropractor's office who was my anatomy and physiology teacher. And so it was really great because I got all this extra kind of information from being near him and around him. And then decided, well, why don't I just go to chiropractic college? I mean, who's stopping me? Nobody. So I moved from the East Coast to Iowa, where everybody's like, oh, is that where they grow potatoes? I said, no, corn
That's
and
another
soybeans and
eyesight.
pork.
Yeah.
That's where your bacon comes from. So I moved to Iowa. I didn't know anybody here. And I did prerequisites because I had done all this art stuff going into theater, and just made this huge left turn and went into doing science things. So I allowed myself to like move to Iowa, do the science work for the prerequisites that I needed to do, and then went into chiropractic college in 1991.
Okay.
And so I graduated from Palmer Chiropractic College, which is the very first chiropractic college. It's located in Davenport, Iowa. Very easy to find. It's where the Mississippi River runs east and west, not
Oh,
north
okay.
and south. We say it's where the Mississippi subluxated. So that's where chiropractic started. First chiropractic adjustment was on Brady Street in Davenport, Iowa.
That's so
So
interesting because I would have thought that chiropractic, the practice would have started, like in California in the San Francisco Bay Area,
nope.
in New York City, or someplace
No,
where
this
we're doing
year I think
Western
it's
medicine.
close to 125 years old.
Wow, that's such an interesting
Yeah, it
story.
started about the same time as osteopathy.
Okay,
So
and
back in
for
this,
us that don't
there
know,
was a
what is osteopathy?
well,
I
there
can't
was a
say it.
huge, well, that got swallowed up by medicine. Medical
Okay,
doctors, osteopaths kind of get the same schooling, but osteopaths also learn how to adjust. The
okay,
philosophy of chiropractic is what you just read, that we all have innate ability to heal, and all we have to do is remove interference to it, and then the body can heal. Interference comes from four things: from toxins, from trauma, from thoughts, and timing. So each time something is misaligned, everything has to change. And we'll talk about what the source of that is in a little bit. But that was my impetus was, let me try this and see if I like it. And I just saw the world kind of open up to me. In theater, you're either going to live in New York or Chicago or a
true,
place that has a theater.
right.
So it becomes one of those situations where this is what my life is going to be. It's going to be my resume. It's going to be what I've done so far. And I really wanted to expand. And the
Sure.
same impetus was, if people can see things from a different point of view, then life can open up and healing can open up. And as a kid, I had some trauma in my life. So I really was very motivated to do healing.
That's wonderful.
And yeah,
Sorry, I was just saying, and when I talk to you, I always feel and hear your passion about the subject matter, which is wonderful, right? We all want to live in our passions.
yeah,
And you spoke about trauma, and with it being National PTSD
yep,
Awareness Day, a lot of us, when we think about PTSD, we think about people from the military.
yep.
But the truth is that people suffer trauma from their parents, their
Oh,
childhood,
yes.
their employers, right?
Yep, absolutely
A
they do.
random encounter on the street. Right now, we have
Yep.
mass shootings. I have a granddaughter. She is 11 years old, and she was in Arizona when a shooter came in, and she was at the water park last week in Houston when a shooter came in. So we're dealing with an 11-year-old who has serious PTSD. So I think it's, important to understand that PTSD is just not for, caused by people from the
Yeah,
military.
it's not for just combat vets.
Right, absolutely. And I think a lot of people,
Although they need it, they need help too. We need
absolutely.
to remember that people are going through all kinds of things that bring up trauma, and trauma can be something so simple
Mhm.
as somebody in authority yelling at you when you're a child.
Really.
Oh yeah, I
And
mean,
that what seems like so minor
so
when you think about,
innocuous, doesn't really matter. But
yeah.
actually, what happens is we don't have any filter when we're a child. So everything just comes in, and
Mm,
then our body has to react to it. Well, I'm in trouble.
yeah.
So if I get into this too deeply, we won't have stuff to talk about at the end, but I'll
Sure.
tell you what, I could talk about this for hours because COVID caused trauma. There are people
Yeah,
who
great
I
point.
had to take my husband to the hospital for an operation during COVID, and I dropped him off like I was taking him to the airport. And I didn't know if he was going to come out again.
And that alone causes trauma. I think
That's
I really
trauma.
appreciate because what you just did really for a lot of us is validate our feelings of trauma that maybe we don't feel like we can validate or other people don't validate for us. And so to hear from a
Absolutely.
doctor that, look, this is true trauma and that it
It
impacts you.
is.
You can seek out.
Anytime
Okay.
that you go into fight or flight response and
Mm.
you don't come out because you don't know how to come out of it, and it takes hours and hours for the body to come back to normal, you're going into trauma. Think about EMT workers, firefighters, ambulance drivers, and people who are doing emergency medical
Right.
work, police officers, anybody that's doing something where they go into the trouble, they're getting ready for trauma.
Literally
And
the fire.
absolutely. And if they don't
Yeah.
have a way to come back out of it, like I said, it takes hours to come back out of fight or flight if you don't know the techniques to use to bring yourself out quickly, which we're going to talk about
All
and we're
right.
going
So
to demonstrate.
we keep going I can take you down a rabbit hole. So feel
Yeah,
free to
I
like, pick
know.
me up. So tell me, it's so interesting to me. This is all just so incredible. Tell me what took you down this path? Like what happened or what is it in your life that made you realize like this is your calling? And because I
Oh,
feel it, I see your passion, I hear your
yes. Well, back in 1994, I was getting ready to graduate from chiropractic college and I was pregnant. And my pregnancy, I went into labor and things took a turn and my baby was stillborn.
oh.
And as I'm lying there in the hospital bed going, why is this happening? I don't understand. I've done everything right. I had
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful pregnancy. I have a loving husband. I have people around me to support me. Why
Mm-hmm.
did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a thought come to me that said, well, do you really believe that everything happens to the highest good or not?
Mm.
Because you can just say that and that sounds nice, but how do you really believe that? And
Mm-hmm.
I went down the road for a little minute there in my
Sure.
mind of not believing that. And I thought, oh, that's terrible. I don't want to go that way. And so I made a decision that I was going to find the good in everything that was happening.
Finding
And the
the good in
first thing,
everything, that's so powerful and
yeah, it's very
so
powerful.
hard
So I
to do.
looked to my left and there's my husband sitting there helping me breathe because I think they over medicated me. So he was like, take a breath, honey. And I'd inhale and then I'd exhale for about 3 minutes. And they'd say, okay,
Mm,
take another breath. So there's my husband, loving and supportive and nurturing and being there for me. And when we were sitting in the room with the ultrasound and they were checking to see what was going on with the baby, and we could see that the heart wasn't moving of our son, I
mhm.
looked at him and I said, are we okay? And he said, yes, we're okay.
Yeah.
That was the best thing he could have said.
What an
Makes
incredible
me well up.
story to get. Well, thank goodness you saw your calling in that and that the rest of us have the opportunity to benefit from that pain that you had to go through.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, I believe that we are having everything happen for us, not to us. So
Mm,
when I ask that question, like, what did I do to deserve this? Right? Not really a great question to ask. The question to ask is, what can I learn from this? Where can I find joy in this experience? Because we can count it all joy if we want to. We can also say, oh, it's such a tragedy. Well, I don't feel like my son's birth and life was a tragedy. I felt like it was really amazing that I was able to have him, but it didn't happen the way I thought it should happen.
sure.
And we had to describe this to his bonus sisters, who were 7 and 5 at the time, and say, everybody's going to pass away. We all do. It's
Mm,
not so normal.
right.
Everybody does it. Some people die when they're young. Some people die when they're old. Some people die when they're sick. Some people die because they were in an accident, but everybody's going to do it and it's not bad.
Right.
So when you have to describe to children what's happening, it makes you realize do I really feel like that? Is
And
this a
perspective.
philosophy I want to live with? And it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. What an amazing perspective on, and just to be able to have that thought process automatically, I would think would just make you a happier human being to be able to just look at things from this perspective. So let me ask you
Absolutely.
this. There are all types of treatments out there for PTSD and mental health. And I mean, there's therapists, psychotherapists, psychologists, talk
Mhm.
therapy. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Yep.
So tell me, what is energy healing? Because I've heard you speak about energy
Yeah.
healing and mental fitness. And how does it differ from like conventional medical practices or therapies that might be a little bit more familiar to people?
So medicine is all about what the problem is,
Okay.
and energy healing is all about what the solution is, as
Okay.
far as like what you already have access to.
Hmm.
So we don't take anything away, we don't put anything in. We're not doing like take this or that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a crutch until you love yourself the best you can.
Okay.
That's what you're doing. And so
And
so
no.
it when you're doing energy work, what's happening is you're seeing the person as the holistic being that they are. We're all energy. If you know anything about atoms moving, they're vibrating all the time. We
Hmm.
all agree that this is like a red or orange top that I'm wearing, because that's the way the light is hitting it and bouncing into our eyes, and it looks that color to us. It's vibrational. Everything is vibration. The sound that you're hearing me make with my mouth is vibration. It's all vibration.
I appreciate you tying the pieces of that puzzle together. It's a
Yeah, sometimes you can feel it and sometimes you can't feel it.
sure,
So
sure.
what happens is when we're doing energy healing, we're working in this infinitesimal type of vibrational wave or
Mhm.
particle, depending on how you look at it. This is quantum healing.
Sure.
So depending on how the person's looking at it, it could be a wave or a particle,
I
right?
see.
That's quantum physics.
So Dr.
When
Tan, oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Go
when
ahead.
an electron jumps from one area to another area of probability, it changes the actual makeup of that substance.
Mhm.
So what we say is like we make this one little change, it changes everything. If you've ever had an epiphany,
Mhm.
that's what it feels like.
Mm.
Like,
Powerful.
oh, I get it. Or you could say eureka.
Eureka. Yeah.
Also, oh, it's like, oh, that makes sense. And it's always leading to truth.
Sure.
Always.
Sure. I want to tell the audience that if you have a question, please put it in the chat so that we can make sure that we address those questions. Um, we'll have some time at the end that we'll present those questions. Tell me who can benefit from this type of a healing practice.
Anyone can benefit from it. As long as you're willing to let yourself have the experience of healing, anyone can benefit from it.
I
There's
see.
no putting off. It doesn't matter if they're differently abled. It doesn't matter if they're a baby and can't follow directions yet. Doesn't
Really,
matter. Yep. We have all different ways of working with people, and it really doesn't matter. Anybody can benefit from it.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what is breaking the pattern, or what is getting out of being stuck? Can you sort of elaborate on that? And
Yeah. I mentioned this earlier this week about how PTSD can also look like somebody pulling away and being quiet.
mhm,
It's not necessarily them having a meltdown, which a lot of people think, oh, it's somebody going crazy and having a meltdown. Mm-mm. It's somebody who is in fear.
mm,
Know anybody like that?
absolutely.
Everybody goes into
Yeah.
fear at some point. But the trauma that happens with great emotional intensity or happens over time.
Mhm.
Either one of those things gets memorized by the body. Let me show you a graphic on that.
That would be great. Dr. Tanya, do you have to be able to identify that thing?
No, no, you don't. That's the one of the beautiful things about this is you don't have to identify it. Let me make sure I got this
That
here.
seems like more conventional. Is that correct?
Totally. Yeah,
Okay.
keep looking for the problem. Here's the thing.
Mhm.
Everybody has feelings. everybody in the world has feelings, and your feelings are running your physiology. It's,
Mhm.
it's like, and it becomes subconscious. So here's a pattern of subconscious. I did something I know is wrong right here. So
Mhm.
the feeling guilt happens. It never gets dealt with. Still
Mhm.
haven't admitted what I did. I'm carrying the guilt. Now there's some shame. These are all patterns of physiology. And look, they're all based on fear. This is
Wow.
the anxiety. I'm starting to feel the weight of being found out. So there's the anxiety. And then this is where symptoms happen. So you get to a certain point with all these different layers of physiology happening and the body doing it, and it becomes totally subconscious.
Mhm.
So now the body's just doing this.
Yeah. Can
And
you give an
post-traumatic
example?
stress is it doing it really intensely, and then it memorizes it. So it's doing this all the time. And
Repeating.
hopelessness. And so you get symptoms here: pains, aches, digestion
Yeah,
problems, breathing difficulty. It's all there.
I see. That's amazing.
So when you have something traumatic happen, this is the layers that happen. Then what we can do, which is really cool, is we can go in and heal the past that's happened. So
Mm.
let's say you had trauma when you were a child. I don't need you to go relive that experience for you to heal it. You
Mhm.
don't have to tell me every little detail about it. But
I see.
what you can do is you can think about it. We can identify the feelings. And what we're going to do today is just one of the modalities that I practice. We're going to do emotional freedom technique. I'm also a master of best, like you mentioned, and we actually work on that too, but it's a little harder to do in this little box that we have. So that's something that I do individually with people, where I have them think of a positive feeling, even if what we're dealing with is something negative, which
Mhm.
it always is something
Right.
negative. But notice the words I'm using. I'm saying negative and positive. I'm not saying bad and good,
Mhm.
because judging your feelings is where things really start to get messed up.
I see. How can this work, this energy healing and mental fitness work, help someone personally and professionally?
Well, I'll give you an example. If someone has a trigger, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit right now. A trigger is something that has helps the person move into that fight or flight response, and not necessarily that they know that they have a trigger, but they automatically go into fight or flight. This is a lower brain function. Your body always wants to survive. And
Mhm.
so it goes into fight or flight to help you assess the situation to see if there's danger around. But this is where it's going into it, and there's no danger. Like most of us are not living in a dangerous place,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So we don't have that for things that are happening around us. But what if you had a situation when you were a child where you're in a car, your parents are arguing, and you get in an accident?
Mm.
Now, every time you hear your parents argue, you go into fight or flight because an accident is shocking.
Mm. I
So
see.
anytime you hear your parents being like less than loving toward each other, it triggers that physiology of I'm in an accident. I'm going to go into fight or flight. Shock is part of that because it's fight, flight, or freeze, and
Mhm.
you freeze. So if you're in business and something happens where you hear people saying the same words or using the same tone of voice,
Mhm.
or the same kind of situation happens, it could be something that you heard, something that you see.
Mhm.
Maybe the car that hit your car was blue, and every time you see a blue car, your body does the physiology for that accident.
Mhm.
It can stop you dead in your tracks. You
Wow.
can be talking to somebody and you just, like, I can't remember what I was talking about. What was I
We're
talking about?
talking about how
No,
the
I'm saying this is the example.
oh, that's the example.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay.
that can happen, and then you're in business and somebody's like, "She really doesn't know what she's talking about. She can't even remember why she's talking because she got triggered." She doesn't know she got triggered because it's in her and it's subconscious.
It's just a part of their makeup.
Your conscious mind is running your muscles, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to point, all the muscles in my hand and my arm move so I can point. That, when that's interfered with, that's part of your nervous system. When that's interfered with, you get tight muscles, you get spasm, you get fatigue. There's about 1/9 of your nervous system that transmits pain. And then
Mm-hmm.
the rest of your nervous system is autonomic. That means automatic.
Okay.
The rest of your nervous system is being run by your feelings, your emotions. And if the emotions are now a subconscious pattern, how do you deal with that? That's why we do quantum healing. That's why we do energy healing, because you don't know that that's happening. It's subconscious. Here's an example of subconscious. You're driving to the grocery store and you're thinking about what you're going to get at the store. You're not thinking
Mm-hmm.
about driving. You know
No.
how to drive. It's a pattern that has become subconscious.
Right.
So now you're thinking about what you're going to get at the store.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you're not thinking about what you're doing at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing at the moment has become subconscious pattern.
Right. There's so
And
many.
that's emotions too.
Right. There are so many subconscious patterns,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And so if we're talking about subconscious PTSD or subconscious reactions, how do we know when to do energy healing, or how do we know when we need to incorporate these things, this healing or these practices into our lives? Like,
When you feel stuck and you can't motivate yourself, I know this happens to people when they're in transition in their life too. Like, let's say you're going from retirement, you're going into retirement, you're going to leave your job that you've had for umpteen years and you're going to retire and you don't know what to do. Like, what do I do? I don't even know what I'm going to do. Had
mhm,
people say that. Or they go through a divorce. And while they're going through it, they don't feel like they have the wherewithal to
mhm,
continue to the end of that. And then what do they do after that?
mhm,
What if you're an empty nester and your kids leave and suddenly you have so much less to do? And so you don't know what that transition is. When we're talking about PTSD, you'll have this kind of mysterious behaviors that happen. Well, I don't know. I don't even know why I'm doing that, would be the
mhm,
thought. Why am I even doing that? I don't know. It might show up as obsessive compulsive.
mhm,
It might show up as not want, well, a lot of people don't like fireworks, but it's
mhm,
because they have a memory of something that happened with loud noise. So they don't want to be around that too.
mhm.
Right. So that there's all different ways that that can show up. Am I answering your question?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
I think about the things that you're talking about as being sort of some major life events.
Yeah.
Like, okay, being an empty nester, retirement, divorce, marriage, all of these things are big life events. But I think a lot of us have subtle PTSD or subtle,
Absolutely, we do.
right? So can you give us some examples of some subtle things that maybe are happening in our lives that are triggers, or that are trauma, that maybe we do need to incorporate these energy and healing, but we're not being mindful to recognize them? I mean, obviously the big things that you mentioned, right? The
Mhm,
big
mhm.
traumatic events.
Moving, a lot of times when you move, that's a
Mhm,
traumatic, even though you want to move,
mhm,
that could be a traumatic event for you because you're leaving everything that you know and you're going to a place that's new where you don't know where everything is. You got to find the grocery store, you got to find a dentist, all those things.
yeah.
It can be traumatic. There's also times like when kids go away to college, that can
Mhm,
be traumatic for the child too. Not just for
right.
the parent who's now got the empty nest, but for the child because they're changing everything that they've done and
Mhm.
doing something new in a different place.
So
So
being
that can be traumatic.
overwhelmed, the
Yeah.
feeling of being overwhelmed.
Yep.
What about little things like, like I manage a lot of human beings in what I do for a
Yes, we
living, right?
do.
I see people, be abrasive or snappy, quick to respond, or
Yep.
um, won't speak up or won't volunteer or always stand in the background. Are those patterns of behavior that would
Yeah.
go, hey, I might need some healing here?
Yeah, because here's the thing is like if you can't engage fully in life, There's healing that needs to happen. We don't just need healing because something bad happens either. We need healing all the time. Here's a good example. Let's say you get a paper cut. What's the first thing you do when you have a paper cut?
Well,
What do
you
you do?
say, ouch, for starters, that hurts. I
Yeah,
gotta-
ow, you might swear, and then you
Yeah.
put your finger in your mouth.
Yes.
Most people do. Well,
Yes.
there's an enzyme in your saliva that helps start healing you.
Yes.
And you don't know that, but you
I
do it.
didn't. I
But
thought
there's
that was only for
enzymes.
dogs. I had no idea that humans had that ability too.
We all do. And here's the thing,
Wow.
it's like we don't
Okay.
know how much healing we can do unless we do the healing. One of the things I tell people when they say, "Oh, I'm fine, I don't need any healing." I'm like, "How do you know that's as fine as you can feel? Maybe there's more. Maybe you're not operating fully actualized." I mean,
Wow, that's
there's
incredible.
it's not what the Western model is: get sick, go to the doctor, get sick, go to the doctor, get sick.
Okay.
Something happens.
It's very
And
reactive.
in
Very reactive. Yeah,
healing, it's proactive.
I
You
see.
go and do healing and learn how to do healing techniques for yourself. And then when those aren't working fully, then you go to see somebody who can help you move that forward. Because where there are two or more, there I am too. So we are always calling in source energy to be part of this because it is. You have that energy in every cell, molecule, and atom and all the space in between. Why not listen to it? So what I'm teaching people a lot of the time is how to listen to that. It's not a big noise. It's a
Yeah,
small, still voice. And when you listen to it and you follow what it's showing you, what it's
yeah.
telling you, then you can continue to heal, always healing. We don't heal once and then we're done. Like if you go to the gym once, are you going to lose 20 pounds?
No, but that would be great.
Wouldn't
That
it?
would be great.
I
It
would
doesn't
love
work that
that.
way. Yeah, yeah. Let's all just hope on that one. So
But that's living in a dream world.
that's
But
living in
no,
a
but the thing
world.
is like we could actually overcome that if we use the power that we've been given. We could
Sure.
do that because
Is
we have
ignoring
so much power we're not using.
Yeah, is ignoring it a traumatic response? Just,
Yeah,
like, let me just
sure.
pretend this isn't yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
fine.
have people in
Okay.
my family who have ignored trauma that they've had happen to them, and they have layers and layers of physiology that is negative.
And what you mean by sickness, illness, autoimmune, cancers, aches and pains, all of those different things happen.
Behaviors that don't make sense and
Yeah.
just the reason one of the reasons why I talk about mental fitness is because if you're not mentally fit, your physiology is going to suffer.
Right, right.
So let's say you're carrying around this car accident that happened when you were a kid. And you've never had any feeling for it. You've never had anybody ask you to do healing about it, or you've had this terrible trauma that's happened. All kinds of behaviors come out of that because what happens when you're a child is you go along to get along.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go along with what's happening. You
Right,
can't suddenly go, "Oh, by the way, I think I need to go see a therapist about that accident we were in."
right,
You're relying on the people who are taking care of you. What if they don't know? What if
right.
they don't understand that?
Yeah.
So you're talking about your granddaughter being in these situations.
Yeah. Yes.
These are people who need mental health care because
Yeah.
going in and shooting people is not going to change their situation for the better ever.
Right.
It's always
Absolutely.
going to make things worse. And the reason why I believe this is so important, and I'm kind of jumping way ahead, but this is so important because we've done all this technology, and you and I can have this course right here, this class, and we can record it and send it out to people.
Mhm.
But their spiritual, mental fitness, emotional development is way behind,
Yeah.
way behind. And so, what we want to do is create more awareness of how healing can be so easy and how it works for everyone and how you don't have to suffer. Suffering is hard, healing is easy.
Yeah.
And
And going
what
back
we're
to
seeing is people getting really sick
right,
and then
right.
doing stuff like you said.
It almost seems like in pre-K, you should start teaching
Absolutely. And we can do
why does
that.
why does it happen for us and it didn't happen to us? And it gets rid of that whole victim sort of mentality and
Absolutely.
just a whole different perspective.
Well,
So
think about how this country was started. It was
Mhm.
started by killing
Yes.
off a whole race of people and then enslaving another.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to continue that kind of thinking.
Right.
It's not logical. I mean, it's not even logical.
Yeah. It's
And
not.
it's not empathic. There's no empathy there. Sympathy and empathy are very similar. Sympathy is like, oh, I feel so sorry for you. And empathy is, I feel what you're feeling.
I
Get
understand
it.
you. Yeah.
Big difference. We need
So
more
let
empathy.
This
Yeah.
is such good stuff. I feel like we need 2 more hours.
I know.
So let me ask you this. So we're talking about PTSD and
Yep.
who needs healing practices and who needs this energy healing or this positive how to understand things happening for us and to
Yep.
change our perspectives. So whether it's these major events of retirement, empty nesting, job changes, my daughter's buying a house right now, and if I tell you she's on an emotional roller coaster, she is on it's a major,
Yeah.
all these major life milestones. But then we have other people here that are just procrastinating, or they're in,
Hiding.
right,
Yeah.
they're
They're
fight or
in pain.
they're in pain, physical pain,
Yep.
emotional pain.
Yep.
They're staying in a job where they're miserable,
Yep.
or they're not able to deal with conflict. Maybe they're in an abusive relationship, or maybe
Yes.
they just don't like to socially interact, or they avoid social gatherings, or they are maybe they're a minimal performer, right?
Yeah.
Or
Fears that don't make sense. Like, why am I
right.
feeling upset about that? That kind of thing.
All of these
Yeah.
different little things that are
Yeah.
having a negative impact on people's emotional well-being as well as their physical well-being. So tell me, what are the secrets? What are the techniques? What are you going to share with us today, Dr. Tanya? To
Okay, well, we're going to do something right now. We're going to do some emotional freedom techniques. So, what I'd love for you to do in the chat is I'd like you to put in there on a scale. Let's see, should we do it on a scale? On a scale of 0 to 10, when you think about a time that you didn't get what you wanted or something negative happened to you, like let's say it's the worst mistake you ever made. When you think about that now, 10's the worst you can feel, 1's the best. Where do you put yourself on that scale? Worst mistake you ever made. Maybe it was a long time ago. Where do you put yourself on that scale? And
mm,
just pop the number in the chat there. Does it still feel like a 10? Does it feel like a 4? 8? Okay. 4, 5. Good. Good. So we can work with this. So I want to make sure that you know that this is a way that you can do this. It's really simple.
okay.
You're going to do what I do and say what I say. I want you to also put in the chat the emotions that you feel when you think about this mistake you made. What are you still feeling about that? Just any emotion. Emotion words: guilt, shame, regret, frustration, inadequacy. Yeah, I said that out loud. Thank you, Leslie. Yes, I got you. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Feeling it in
That's
your
the
body.
physical.
Yep. Physical. Okay, so we're gonna tap on all of these feelings. Yes, remorse and guilt. I got you. Yep, yep, yep. Stomach issues. We're gonna tap on all of this. So I want you to just repeat what I say to yourself, and I'm gonna take you through a round or two of tapping. So we're gonna start on the eyebrow right here, and you're just gonna tap like this. Tap, tap, tap. And I want you to repeat after me. All of this shame, go to the side of your eye. All of this guilt, under the eye, all of this sadness, under the nose, all of this embarrassment, under the lips, and regret. I can feel this in my chest. Tap under your collarbone. I can feel it in my stomach, under the arm, about 4 inches below the armpit. And I'm feeling this in my whole body. Top of the head, all of this remorse and guilt, feeling it in my chest, feeling it in my stomach. All of these feelings. And I'm just going to acknowledge my feelings. I own my feelings. I honor my feelings. Okay, now take a deep breath. And I want you to pop into the chat there. What number do you feel like you're at now? Did you go up or down? So good. Leslie went down from an 8 to a 5. Paul went to 0. All right.
Wow.
He's feeling good. Zina's
So
down to a 2. Now, let me tell you what we just did. What we just did was acknowledge, own, and honor your feelings. They're not bad feelings, they're negative feelings. And what we just did was tap on acupuncture points that changes the energy that's going through our body. It's only 5,000 years old, so
that was my next
will.
question. If just can you educate us a little bit on tapping for those of us that are not familiar with it? I mean, give us.
Emotional freedom technique was developed many years ago, and it is an awesome technique because what you're doing is actually changing your physiology while you're acknowledging your feelings. So the way that I'm showing you today is you acknowledge those negative feelings. They're not bad, they're negative. You're allowed to have negative feelings. You're a human being. You're going to have them. This whole idea of like only think positive will drive you absolutely insane. No doubt. Because if you don't acknowledge that you feel bad about something, how are you going to? It's like saying an affirmation. I love and accept myself. Yeah, sure I do. Right?
But
You're
it's
not telling the truth.
right. It's avoid. Yeah.
What's your truth? That we
Yeah.
call that spiritual bypass. I'm just going to think positive. Well, if there's something negative underneath that you don't believe what you're saying, you better acknowledge those things and tap on those things. Because while you're doing this is the magic part.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely tapping on these acupuncture points that are changing what your energy is doing. And look, everybody felt better. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to really ask yourself, what's the bottom fear here? So emotional freedom technique, there's lots of different tapping points. You can do this. This is a setup phrase. Even though I feel shame about this, I love and accept myself. You just say it. Even though I still feel shame about this, I totally love and accept myself. Even though there's still some shame that I have about this situation, I totally and completely love and accept myself. All of this shame, I'm still feeling all of this shame. I can't let it go. I won't let it go. You can't make me let it go. But what if I could? I have a script for that in my website, quantumhealinginternational.com. You can go to the website and you can find the tapping points. They're on the resource page, and you can find the script for the tapping points for what we just did. That script doesn't have the negatives first, but you can add that to the front of it and do that. And then do the setup phrase too. You can do it all. It's all good.
Wonderful. If you wouldn't mind putting your link to
Yeah.
that healing techniques, that would be
You
great.
can do it. You can't do it wrong. You can only do it long.
There
That's
you
what
go.
we say.
Very good. So quantum healing techniques is a great place where we can get additional information on
Quantum Healing International.
and
Because I work with people all over the world. I've worked with
quantum
somebody
healing.
in every continent.
Wonderful. So we
'Cause
don't
I've been
have to
doing this
be
for a long time.
great. So that's great for everyone to know. We don't have to be in your backyard in order to be able
No,
to
I've
work
worked
with
with people in Australia. I've worked with people in the Indian Ocean, in the Seychelles. I've worked with people in South Africa,
Okay.
Europe, all over the place.
World renowned. We're very lucky to have you here, Dr. Tanya. So let me ask you, there are other types of healing practitioners.
Mhm.
What sets you apart as the soul chiropractor from
Well, it was
other?
so funny because one of my coaches said, you're like the soul chiropractor. And I said, yeah, maybe. And he said, no, you really are. Because what are you doing as a chiropractor? I said, well, we remove interference. Oh, yes. We're removing interference from how you're showing up in the world, what your
Mhm.
subconscious is letting happen. And then somebody the very next week said, "This is Tanya. She's my well, she's a soul chiropractor." And I was like, oh, okay, well,
It
that's
really stuck.
independent corroboration from the universe right there. So
There you go.
soul chiropractor, because we are working on how you inhabit this physical space. We're working on the energy of who you are. That's your soul.
Mm,
And
that's
we're always asking source to come in. We're always inviting source, because most people, I would venture to say, most people don't allow that part of themselves to even be acknowledged.
mhm.
So it's really important, because you're not ever going to be a flat line until you die. That's when you
Right.
become a flat line. The rest of the time, you're just like this all the time. Homeostasis. Something's going wrong. Something's going on. Something's happening here. Something's compensating there. It's always happening. You're in flow all the time. So why not be in flow at the highest level?
Sure. I know you've spoken about energy blocks. So
Mhm.
can you explain sort of the concept of energy blocks and how they relate to our discussion or healing work that we're talking about today?
Yeah, I'm looking when I'm doing an intuitive energy scan, which is the way people come into my work. I'm intuitively looking at their chakra system. Now, let me just say, you don't need to be any kind of religion to understand chakras. They're energy centers in your body. It's where energy gathers. You have one at your solar plexus because there's a lot of nerves there. You have
Mm,
one lower down at sacral chakra because there's a lot of stuff going on there. Right. So these are energy centers. These are the ones in your body. There's some that are outside of you too. And your field of energy is about 6 feet around when it's nice and open,
mm,
or it can go on forever, because your energy doesn't stop at the surface of your skin. Right. If somebody comes into your field of energy and they're a close talker and they get too close and they get into your personal space, you feel that. And by the way, women are more sensitive to that than men are. And why are we more sensitive? Because we have to be more aware. It's
mm.
just the truth. That's the truth.
Interesting.
We have to be more aware of
Comes
what's
from
going on around
childbirth.
us.
Is that the connection of childbirth, child rearing?
Well, it has to do with violence as well.
Mm,
We have that. It's not just women that have
get it.
intuition, but the field of energy. We can feel people sneaking up behind us better than men can. Apparently, this is
Science.
the science behind it. But here's the
Isn't it?
thing, is like, you can train yourself to do anything. So when we're talking about energy blockages, this is when things are not moving fluidly, when they're not happening. So each one of these chakras, or you could say chakras, that's the real way to say it, chakras, but us Western people say chakras. When you're having some stuck energy, that's another way that you can access it.
Mhm,
So for instance, I think it was Leslie said she was having stomach issues. So what's there? That's solar plexus. That's a large group of nerves. Plexus means braids. So it's
mhm,
a large group of nerves. It's solar because all nerves are covered with a fat called myelin that is yellow. So it's a big collection of yellow covered nerves right there in the middle of the body. And what is the chakra? The chakra is all about shining your light and self esteem and feeling good about yourself and being able to be out there. You could
mhm.
probably tell that my third chakra, my solar plexus, power center chakra, is on fire right now. And it's being fed by the sacral chakra, which is where my passion is. And
Mm,
my root chakra that's below that, that's red, has me as is my foundation. Is it okay for me to be here and physical? Is it okay for me to be on the earth right now? Do I have the family foundation underneath me that
mhm.
helps me fuel my passion, that helps me shine my light, that helps me exude and attract love into my life, that helps me speak fully, that helps me be able to see patterns in my life, and helps me connect with source energy.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Can you speak to energy blocks, since it is National PTSD
Yeah.
Awareness Day? Can you speak about energy blocks as they pertain to PTSD?
Yeah, the thing that makes me different from other people that are doing healing work like this is I could talk about it from the physical point of view, because I study physical bodies, anatomy and physiology all the time, and also the energy part of it. So I can go very out there.
Mhm. Well, I
And the
appreciate the
blockages
science
that we
shared and connecting that information from the
yeah,
emotional.
connecting it, but it's a grounding kind of thing.
Mhm,
So the thing that I really like to help people understand is with PTSD is that you have this kind of mysterious experience of being taken over by your physiology, but
mhm,
it happens all the time with people. They don't know why they're doing stuff all the time. They don't know why they're reaching for that other drink. I would venture to say that some of those habits that we have that are now called diseases are
mhm,
happening because of the dis-ease that we have in our heart, in our energy.
mhm,
So it feels like there's a hole in me. I have to fill it with something.
mhm,
This is why we have so many people, so many veterans committing suicide, because
mm.
they're not taught how to handle that at all.
So
That's what one of the things I want to do is help people understand it's okay and we can deal with this. We can do something about it. And it's as easy as tapping. That's one of the easiest things you can do. Another easy thing that helps clear blocks is coming always back to center because the blocks are pulling you away from yourself.
mhm,
So when you come back to center by doing something like as easy as 4 count breathing, 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out, 4 counts hold, all through your nose. When
mhm,
you're doing that, you're concentrating on present time. You're doing the one thing that will keep you alive. After 4 minutes without breathing, you're dead, right? So you're concentrating on something that keeps you alive. You're inviting inspiration, inhaling, invite spirit in. And as you exhale, gratitude, inspiration, exhale, gratitude. So I teach everybody to do that. So simple, and yet it can save your life. I've had one of my clients is an EMT worker, and she couldn't do anything for the person that was in the ambulance. So
mm.
she did 4 count breathing with him, and it saved his life,
That's
got him
amazing.
to the hospital.
What an incredible testimony to the success of that technique. Um,
Also, I have a cousin who teaches children and has taught all the kids in her classroom how to do that. And people keep walking into her classroom saying, how come your classroom's so quiet and relaxed? She teaches them 4 count breathing,
that's incredible.
special needs kids. Yeah.
That's wonderful. How might someone begin? We've talked about identifying things that are
Yeah.
trauma and PTSD. How does someone begin to address this pain? Like, where do you start?
Well, first of all, asking for help is a big part of it. That's a huge step. So when we ask for help and we reach out, it's really, really important to use all of your heart to say yes and to let that happen
Mhm,
because it's so hard for people to reach out because they are ashamed of themselves. They think they should be doing better, and I'm here to tell you, you're just a human being. You have power you haven't even used yet. If you don't know how to use it, how do you know? So the idea is to get with somebody like me or some other energy person that understands that you're more than just the sum of your parts. You're
and
not a used car.
yeah,
You are more than that. You're a vital, infinite, invincible being.
that's
And
amazing.
when you notice that about yourself, it's easier to ask for help. But asking for help is the first thing you want to do. So people can schedule with me at the website there. They can schedule a consult with me. I'm happy to talk with anybody to see if it's a good fit for them. There's lots of therapies that are out there. I was just on a networking meeting yesterday and there were over probably 80 people there and everybody does something and it's
Mhm,
all a little bit different. And it's like, who do you feel good with? Who makes you like, where do you feel like you have a connection? So you're just like listening to people talk about what they do in a minute and you're going, I like that. That sounds good to me. And
yeah.
it's your feeling about it. Now, what do you do if you have a block toward your feelings? Breathe,
Mhm,
breathe.
mhm. So when I think about the things that we've talked about today, I
Mhm.
would think that there's so many people out. A lot of people want to talk about their problems or their triggers or what happened to them. But if you're
Yeah.
someone who says, "Look, I don't want to talk about my problem. I don't want to talk about what happened. I just
Yeah.
want a solution to go forward in my life." the Soul Chiropractor is a great solution for that, right? I don't want to talk about what happened in 1969. I don't want to talk about what happened in 1983. I don't want to talk about
And people often come in and they don't want to talk about it, but I'll ask them, think about, like I did today, think about, a recurring thought that you have. What's a recurring thought that you say to yourself about yourself? And we can get right down to it in a matter of moments.
Yeah.
And people will spontaneously start to tell their story. It's not necessary for them to tell their story. They can just keep it all inside. But I'll say, sometimes people say, can I tell you what that was about? I'm like, yeah, sure. Tell me.
For someone that's a private person, I would think this would be an
Yeah.
incredible solution for someone who's very private, right? Or maybe a little bit more introverted or just doesn't like to share
Works
as
great with teenagers.
right.
They don't want to share a thing.
Right, absolutely. So let me ask you, we talked about your role in music and the fact that you're an accomplished
Oh,
blues
yeah.
singer. Super cool. So you get the cool points for the day.
Thank
So how does music, no, absolutely, it's super cool. So how does music play a role in healing? How does
Well,
it play a role
in
for
blues,
you?
yeah, I
And then
do
tell us
blues
how it can
music.
work for other people. And it doesn't have to be the blues.
No, it doesn't. And who doesn't want to listen to a sad song after they've had a breakup? I mean, isn't
That's
that
so
like that? You're like, I want to listen to something. You want to have the feelings come out. You want to release them. That's you releasing feelings. That's the most important thing you can do is release them.
yeah.
Express your feelings. So a lot of people are taught never to show their feelings. Don't express your feelings. Men in general are taught they can have like 3 feelings. It's like ridiculous. What we are is multifaceted, kaleidoscopic beings. And why can't we express everything in some healthy way? Well, music is a great way to do that because something can reach you and you go, God, I've had that happen to me. I've
Mhm.
had that. So you can feel like worried blues, worried blues. You don't know my mind. Worried blues, worried blues. You don't know my mind. 'Cause when you see me laughing, I'm laughing to keep from crying.
That's
Everybody's loved
healing.
that.
That's
So
beautiful. Yeah.
anything can listen. Source, God, energy can use anything to bring you closer to that energy. You don't have to think of it as a man sitting on a throne in the sky. You can think of it as the amazing miracle that you are and that every cell in your body is, because it's all in there.
Mhm.
People don't know when the baby's heart starts beating. There's this whole talk right now about this, right? But they can't pinpoint it. They don't know. They'll tell you they do, but they don't.
Interesting.
You don't know when you're pregnant if you're making the baby's liver that day or not
Mhm.
because it's happening
The process.
subconsciously. You don't know. So it's
Yeah.
important for us to remember that it's good to be comfortable with mystery because you don't have to know everything. You just
Mhm.
have to know that God knows. And here's the thing, it's not about religion. It's not about that. It's about allowing yourself to receive information from the universe, if that's what you want to call it. You don't have to call it that.
Or even from yourself, it
Mm.
sounds like you're saying?
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
don't box yourself in. Don't put the universe in a little tiny box. It can only come to me this way. This is a mistake a lot of people make. I
Mhm.
want healing to happen, but I want it to happen like this and like this and like this. And let
Right.
me tell you, that's not how it's going to happen.
All right. I
It's
think
just going to happen however it can.
we're about 3 minutes after
Yeah.
I think we're going to start losing some
Yeah,
people. Does
yes.
anyone have a Q&A or a question that they'd like to put into the chat that we could share with Dr. Tanya? The one thing that I just keep going back to as far as my takeaway today is things happen for us, not to us. And that I think that will stick with me for a very long time. For the people that are dealing with PTSD, what would be your biggest advice that you could give them today? Or any type of a mental health issue or trauma or being stuck.
So simple.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to tap. go to quantumhealinginternational.com, go to the resource page, look at the tapping diagram, follow along with the script. So simple. If you do
Simple.
that right now, you'll be on your way to healing. Absolutely.
That's amazing. Simple and free technique to
Yeah.
start the change in your life.
And then when you want more assistance, you can schedule a time with me.
All right. That's wonderful. So your website, quantumhealinginternational.com.
Yep.
Any future talks that you have scheduled that you could share with us that maybe we might want to know about or sign up for?
I'm doing a training on how to do energy scanning with
Okay.
my coach, Daniel Hanneman, on July 21st and 22nd. I'm going to
Okay.
put the link here so that you can look at it. Let me see. There we
And
go.
read it so that anyone else would be able to have
This
that.
is the way that you can actually access your healing and to help others heal too.
Okay.
So it's a great way for you to start using your intuition and exercising that. Because
Okay.
remember, if you don't exercise a muscle, it atrophies. The same thing with intuition. Exercise your intuition. Learn how much intuition you can rely on. It's amazing. And
Mhm.
anybody can do it. You don't need to be special. You're
Very
already
good.
special.
And what about if someone wants to reach out directly, an email address that maybe people could
Yeah,
contact you directly?
you can email me. You can go on the web, and you can't swing a dead cat without hitting me on the internet. I'll tell you that right now. Let me see. I'm going to put some links in here. Okay. So here's some great links for you to find me.
Okay.
And I'm also going to put in, there's schedulers in there that you can schedule chiropractic care if you're in the local area. You can schedule an intuitive energy scan. That's that IES scan, IE scan. That's scheduling an intuitive energy scan. That's a 90-minute session. You can go to energy healing and schedule a collaboration call with me if you would like to collaborate on something. And you can also schedule just a 25-minute consult with me, and I'll give you a special link for that. So everybody who wants to do that really like one-on-one time, this
Okay.
is a great way to do it right here. Just go there. You can also schedule intuitive energy scan there, but there's a 25-minute consult there. There's also one in the top one too. So there's lots of different things you can do.
These are a lot of really great tips. What if someone wants to be on your mailing list to know when you're speaking, where you're speaking, or how to get in touch with you when they
Yeah.
really need you? How might they do that?
Here is my email. Sorry, you did ask me for that.
That's okay. A lot of good information.
Yeah.
So Dr. Tanya, Tanya English. So Dr. Tanya English at gmail.com.
That's right.
Right. So, Dr. Tanya, for people out there that have chiropractic benefits with their insurance, is this type of approach to energy healing and mental fitness, is this something that they can put through their insurance? Is it private
No,
pay?
not unless they have some kind of insurance that recognizes that, or they have a healthcare savings account. They can do
Okay.
that.
So they
But
can
I
use their
don't,
HSA.
there are so many people that let me just say, the insurance industry is like dealing with the mafia.
Yes, I would agree.
But anybody that's had to deal with that knows, and it's not
Absolutely.
fun. So you can think of me as like a hairdresser. Pay me at the time of service.
Yeah, that's good. But it's nice to know that if you have an HSA account, you can utilize
You
it.
can use that. Also, I do create invoices for people that are coming in as for chiropractic care that they can use to send to their insurance company. So they can use those easily.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff. And so if I were to engage your services or anyone's services for energy healing and mental fitness, and I decided today is the day to start, what type of investment am I looking for? And, am I like if I sign up for a counselor, it might be one time, a week or one time a month or
Right. I do sell packages, and I
okay.
do have programs that I do that I would talk to the person. The first thing that we would do is an intuitive energy scan, and then talk about what would be the right thing for them, because it's
Mhm.
not one size fits all. That
Mhm.
is for sure. And so there's 3-month program. There's also a 6-month program that I'm probably going to expand to 7 months.
Mhm.
And there's all kinds of things in between. We have a couple of 2-session things that you can do. And it's really about, let's unlock what needs to be unlocked, and the healing happens.
What's the average tenure for a patient? I guess it's a patient for a patient of yours. Like,
Well, patients are people that come in the door, and the
yeah.
clients are ones that I work with over the phone and over Zoom.
Okay.
And it just depends on the person. There are some people that I've worked with for years. They'll come in for a certain number of times over
Mhm.
several months, and then they'll come back later and we'll do some more. So it just depends on the person and what they're going through in their life,
I
and what they want support with. Because when I'm working with somebody and they're doing a package with me, I work on them every day. Now, I don't talk to them every day. We
Sure.
talk to them during sessions, but in between sessions, I'm clearing their energy. I'm sending them unconditional love. I'm checking in with them, or they're checking in with me if something comes up. So it's not just a like divide it by the number of visits, because I'm working on you every day.
Right. Now, Dr. Tanya, I own a staffing company, right? And
Yeah.
we work with human resources departments and benefits administrators. So is this something that could be a value added employer paid benefit for employees or discounted
Absolutely.
for
I mean,
employees?
if you got benefit from today, this
Mhm.
is the kind of thing that I can do for a company. We do a training and
Mhm.
train people to understand how to do the simplest things, the
Mhm.
breathing, the tapping. We teach muscle testing, so people can start to learn these techniques that can immediately help them heal. They can go home and teach it to their kids.
Right. And how
It,
might
it,
that benefit
it's
an employer? Can you speak to that a little?
Well, less sick days, first of all, more
Okay.
productivity. How about that? How about
Wonderful.
people being engaged in their work and being creative? Because now they don't have all this weight on them that's keeping them from being creative and engaged. Because if you have layers and layers of guilt and shame and embarrassment, how creative do you think you're going to be?
Yeah, those are incredible points. I think I have a lot of
Yeah.
human resources contacts that probably wish they would have seen this entire presentation
I know.
just based
I
on
know.
that.
Where are they?
Yeah,
Get back
benefits are
over here.
so expensive
And
and
because
employee
we're getting to
costs.
the end of this, and I want to share this with people, those of you who have stayed here to the end, and I know who you are, I want to gift you. Um, well, let's see. What's Source giving me? I want to gift you a 25-minute session so you can use it for a consult, where we go through the chakra problem solver card right here. There's a problem of the chakra on one side, like one of the problems would be like creative projects don't get off the ground. Would be
Okay,
one. Or yeah, everything has to be perfect for me to be able to do it. I'll gift you 25 minutes and we'll go through this, and you'll learn what you need to do, and we'll do it right then and there.
that's
How about
wonderful.
that? So
And
when you schedule, if you're on this call, when you schedule, you put in chakra problem solver into that, so that I know that that's what we're going to do. Okay?
very good. And if you didn't pre-register and you just popped in, please make sure that you message Dr. Tanya your email address so that she can make sure she adds you to the attendee list. I think we're wrapping up. Look, I thought this could have gone on for 3 hours, but I tried really hard to
Yes.
listen, to rein us in. So we have 2 minutes left. So if anyone has any questions, please put them forward. If not, I think this has been really educational. And it's also been very beneficial. You've given us some great tips. You honored us with a little song. And so we appreciate that. I think it's
I'm
really
going to leave you with this idea. You know, we're taught to walk through the valley of the shadow of death, not pitch a tent and live there. We want to come out the other side of that, whistling a happy tune and skipping. And you can do that. You don't have to stay there. You're not betraying your loved one who passed if you stay there. If you don't stay there, you're not betraying anyone if you heal. You're not letting someone down if you're healing. I was working with a client recently who had both her mother and her sister pass, and
Mm.
she was really weighed down by this. And when we were getting finished, I said, "So how did that all work out for you?" We were done with the 3 months that we were working. And she said, "Boy, I thought it was going to be so much longer." She said, "But I got through that so quickly." There are people that I talk to like, "We did that in one session? Are you kidding? Really? I feel so good." So we're into instant healing.
That's awesome. Like
Yeah.
anything
Oh,
that's
thanks,
beneficial
Monica.
and helpful and that can help us live each day a little bit better. It's a short life we have, right? So let's live it the best that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I got you, Monica. Thank you.
Great tools and techniques. Thank you so very much. Do you have anything else you want to share? If not, I would encourage everyone to reach out for your complimentary session just for attending today and staying here.
I'll be singing at the Coralville Legion on Saturday, and it's a PTSD fundraiser.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful.
right here in Coralville.
All
So
right, that's
if you're in
exciting.
Iowa, come on over.
I'm sure there are a lot of people that will benefit from these wonderful techniques and the information that you're sharing today. So thank you in honor of
So,
National PTSD Awareness Day for being our
oh,
guest. For
yeah, and don't forget to save the chat. And I'm going to put one other thing in here, healingwiththeblues.com. You can find out where we're playing, and you can also access a bunch of videos and stuff.
All right, I have saved the chat, so I think we're good to go on that. Everyone, thank you for attending. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Dr. Tanya, if you want to stay on just for a quick minute, we can
Yep.
wrap up. And
Thanks, everybody.
thanks,
Much
everybody.
love.
All right.